Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well and also hope that you are having a good day so far. I just want to apologize for the late streaming or the late live, but we've been having or experiencing technical difficulties on our end. But we are going to continue at least for a few minutes. We are doing sentences and fragments. We're doing grade one. And we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password. Select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade one, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of sentences and fragments. All right, so when it comes to sentences and fragments, right, we're going to find the complete sentence, and then we're also going to complete the sentence. And when it comes to sentences and fragments, right, we have a sentence, right? So when it comes to sentences, a sentence has a naming part, which is like a noun, and it has an action part, which is like a verb. And when it comes to the naming part, right, of a sentence, and when it comes to the naming part of a sentence, then it's basically telling us who or what is doing the action within the sentence, right? And the action part is telling us the action, the verb that either the person, animal, or thing is doing within the sentence. And when it comes to a sentence, a completed sentence, like we say, a completed sentence has a naming part and it has an action part, and that basically tells a complete thought. We call that a complete thought. And if we look at an example, right, of a sentence, and then it says, my brother jumps in the pool. And keeping in mind that, remember, a sentence starts with a capital letter and it ends with an end point, whether it is a period, whether it's a um, exclamation point, or whether it's a question mark, depending, right? And it says, my brother jumps in the pool. And if we were to identify the naming part in that sentence, then it is my brother, because it will tell us who or what did the action. And who did the action? My brother did the action. What did he do? He jumps in the pool. If you look at another one, it says, I play outside every morning. And if we would identify the naming part, which is either the person or thing that does the action, then we can say I is the action, is the person or thing, which is the naming part that does the action. And then we have an action part, right? And the action part within the sentence, it tells us the action that either a person or thing does. And if we look at the very same sentence, right? If we look at the very same two sentences, but only by identifying the action, then we can say, my brother jumps in the pool. And if we were to identify the action that either the person, the animal, or the thing does, then we can either say jumps or we can say jumps in the pool, depending. So jumps in the pool, that is the action part, or it's just jumps, depending. Then it also says, I play outside every morning. So I play outside every morning, right? And it says, if we were to identify the action part within that sentence, then we can either say it is play, or if they want the action verb plus all the other words, then we can say play outside every morning. But basically, just the action part is play. It's the same like jumps is the action part within that sentence. And this is basically a complete sentence. A complete sentence has both, it has a naming part and it has an action part. And the naming part, like we say, it tells us who or what is doing the action within a sentence. And then the action part is the action or the thing that the naming part does within a sentence. Yes, well done. Jumps in the pool, or we can just say jumps because that is the verb, the action that the person does, which is my brother does, right? So we can either say jumps in the pool or just jumps. Well done. All right. So before we even continue, before we go on to our test, right? Yeah, so an end mark can either be your period, or it can be a question mark depending on the type of sentence, or it can be your exclamation point. So it depends on the type of sentence that you have. If it's a question that you're asking someone, then we have the question mark. If it is a statement that you're making, however you're expressing yourself, you are um, showing strong feelings, then we have an exclamation point. Or if it's just a statement, we're just telling someone something, then it is a period. It ends with a period, right? Yes, well done. Play is also our other action point. So once again, a sentence has a naming part and it has an action part, right? And that tells us a complete thought. That is a complete sentence, a complete thought. If it does not have a naming part, then it is not a completed sentence. Or if it has a naming part but doesn't have an action part, then it's also not a completed sentence. So a sentence needs to have a naming part and it needs to have an action part in order to show a complete thought, right? Once again, the naming part, it is either the person or animal or thing that is doing the action. Like I am the naming part, right? Miss Nadine is the naming part because I am doing something. I'm talking, I'm teaching, I'm tutoring. So I'm the naming part. You are the naming part. Your name or the boy or the girl. That's the naming part. Why? Because you are listening. You're doing something. What are you doing? You're listening. The action part that I'm doing is I'm teaching, I'm tutoring, I'm talking. That is the action that I'm doing. The action that you are doing is you either typing or you're listening or you're watching. That is what you're doing, right? So within a sentence, we have the naming part and an action part. All right. So now let's go on to our test where we're going to find the complete sentence. So we're going to look at all four of these sentences, right? And we need to identify the complete sentence. And remember, a complete sentence has a naming part and it has an action part. It needs to have both. Option one says, Mom is ready. Option two, asked for help. Option three, ran away. Option four, discovered the cure. We need to select the complete sentence that has a naming part and an action part. And if we were to identify the completed sentence within these four sentences, then we will say option one, Mom is ready. Mom is our naming part and is, that is our action part. So option one is our completed sentence. It has a naming part and it has an action part. The next one says we need to find the complete sentence. It says wins the prize, they ride the bus, slammed the door, baked a cake. we need to select the complete sentence that has a naming part that tells us who or what is doing something and the action that they're doing. And if we were to check, if we were to choose the correct option, we will look option three. Option three says slammed the door. So now the question is, who slams the door? So they're not telling us the naming part. Baked a cake. Who bakes a cake? They're not telling us who baked the cake. Wins the prize. Who wins the prize? They're not telling us who wins the prize. So we will go with option two. They ride the bus. So now the question is, who rides the bus? They, which is our naming part, rides the bus. Right? Okay, let's do one more. We need to find the complete sentence. One wish, it fits because it was raining, for better or worse. We need to select the complete sentence. Let's try again. See, option one says one wish. It doesn't tell us anything. Look at option two. It fits. What fits? It. It can be anything. It is a item. It's a thing, right? So we'll go with option two. All right. So I know we started very late due to technical issues. I just want to apologize once again. Um, I really don't know what was going on with the issues that we had technically. Um, but we will continue with sentences and fragments on our next lesson. But for now, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for your patience. Um, and I really hope that we will be able to continue our lesson on sentences and fragments next time, right? So this is the end of our lesson. We said that sentences and fragments, we didn't get to fragments yet, but a completed sentence has a naming part and it has an action part. So thank you everybody for joining. So till next time, you must have a good evening further. Goodbye.